What is up, fragrance family out there? Thanks for joining me here on my channel, Steven Sturgill. I had a little hiccup trying to get started on time and ended up having, I don't know how to do the download encoders for live casting. So I'm just going through the YouTube native basic interface platform, if that makes sense. I couldn't get the other thing going and I couldn't find where to download those, but we'll all in time. We'll get there. Anyways, I know a lot of you are at work. Apologize for that. It is what it is, but I wanted to get a 2 o'clock review in today. I did give a little shout out, not a lot, but a little. Anyways, today, once again, we're looking at the very interesting house of January Scent project by the now somewhat famous, quite famous nose and creator and artist, John Biebel. And I previously reviewed one of his scents. I believe it was this guy. But we're not looking at that today. We are looking at this guy, Green Juice, and I say green with emphasis. This is either pronounced Eiderantler or Eiderantler. I'm going to go with Eiderantler for now. That's what it looks like to me, but you be the judge. You can go to January Scent project.com, I believe. I'll provide a link down below, and you can get your nose on some very interesting sample packs, starter packs. I believe John's bottles retail for about $125 per bottle. Is it 125 mils or 100 mils? I don't want to get that wrong. Let me check real quick. 100 mils, excuse me. Yes, and it's 125. They are also available as 30 mils. Now, I sprayed this earlier, and I'll do a little respray because I've already showered again. I'll get a little bit here and there. Now, upon second application, what's more evident, at least in the opening than it was initially, is the fact that, well, let me preface that with saying that this is amongst the very, very most hyper green scents that I have ever smelled in my perfume, cologne, eau de toilette history of putting my nose on fragrances, of using fragrances, of liking and loving fragrances. This has to rank at the very pinnacle. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a greener scent. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm just saying you'd be very hard pressed to find it. And if you did, it would probably be the one of only 2 other scents in the world that are greener than us. Just a guess. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. Now, in the opening, if I'm to be a little bit blunt, and I would say that okay, let's go through the ingredients list, and then I'll talk about some talking points. Lavender, green leaves. First off, the whole thing is an ivy fougere. John considers this as an ivy fougere. So the idea to me is just it's green, it's lush, it's verdant. There's going to be levels and levels of elements that are green, but also elements that add to that and complete the picture. Elements such as, well, let's go through the ingredients again. Lavender, green leaves, moss, pink pepper, just lightly spice things up. Lavandin, do not know what that smells like, but I'm assuming it's related to lavender, just a guess. Champa leaf, kind of a green tea, woodsy smell, I believe. Ivy is in here, in fact. Hope I don't get the poison. Just a joke. Elemi, fir cone. So now we're getting that resinous, very pine type green scent. Hay for a more funkier, gray, green, yellow type smell. I mean, if you've ever smelled wet or dry hay, you kind of know the smell. Oak wood. I'm not sure. Well, yeah, I'm not really sure of the smell of oak wood, but it's in there. cashmere. Now I'm for sure getting just a ton of vetiver, and this also has musk. Now the vetiver, I believe initially it's combining with other elements like the champa leaf and the pink pepper and the moss and the oak wood, and it gives it just a touch, just a light touch of funkiness. Not so much in a bad way, but just it's like a funky vetiver. It's mixing with that moss and the oak wood, the ivy, the alemi, the champa leaf, a little bit of that lavender. And again, the lavandine or lavandin, I'm not sure exactly if that's like a subcomponent or it's probably a newer synthetic that apes some of lavender while providing, I'm guessing, something like a slightly creamier or woodsier aspect. I'm not for sure. That's something to look into for future reference. But what I really ended up liking the most about this fragrance is the fact that I'm not crazy about the opening, but as it begins to develop and in that long dry or medium dry down, let's say not long, but let's say medium to long dry down, and as it develops, it gets quite a bit creamier and softer. Quite interesting that it kind of just takes on this slightly new dynamic and dimension to it that really wasn't quite present in the opening. I know that may sound bizarre, but we all know that a lot of fragrances change and develop as you're wearing them. They just go through chemical, literally, and chemistry changes on your skin's pH, or because of that. So what else to say? This becomes more and more pleasant the longer it's on my skin, and it becomes soft, creamier, still very, very green, quite pleasant, something lightly, playfully sensual about it. Not in the way of an over-the-top noir, nighttime sexy fragrance, but just almost like a more playful green Chanel type vibe, where it's more lighthearted. It's daytime. It's really good. It's really, really quite interesting, and I personally think this is a much better play on the thematic of woodsy green modern than the new Bulgari woods scent, which I kind of trashed and bashed just quite bluntly and blatantly. And I'm sorry to say, I will revisit that, but I gave it quite a bit of time on my skin and just was absolutely underwhelmed and very unimpressed. I love the house and line of Bulgari Man and Bulgari in general, but I just think for me, Woods was a huge missed opportunity. It did not come off as very refined, nor very interesting, nor simply very good. I know there's a lot of opponents out there that totally take the other side of the fence. I more than respect your nose and your opinion. Listen, we're never always going to agree on scents, nor opinions, nor taste, and that's just part of being alive and being in the world. That's being part of a democracy. Quite frankly, it is the democracy of each and every one of our individual noses and tastes. There's no reason to get extra heated. I mean, I wasn't dragging the House of Bulgari through the mud. I mean, I think they're a fantastic house. I just feel like the nose on this and the committee on this just kind of slipped and missed the brief. That's just my opinion. Here's how this is much closer to what Bulgari Woods should have been. Let me just put it that way and put just a period on the end of my sentence. This is much more akin to what Bulgari Man Woods should have been. This is more interesting. This is greener. This has got more of a dynamic nature. It's also more refined. And again, as it develops, this gets softer and more inviting. In which case, for me, the Bulgari Man Woods just began to die on the skin not almost immediately, but after about the first 30 to 45 minutes, it was a nothing scent with a little bit of a funky, soily type vetiver smell and just some kind of generic, slightly cedary wood smell. not that pleasant, and certainly underwhelming and very unimpressive. Again, okay, that's the last I'm going to say on the Bulgari Man Woods. I've said it enough in my own review. Then I'm just contrasting the fact that, to me, John has really done what they should have done here. This is definitely worthy of getting your nose on. I'm not the biggest green guy, for example. Just to be brutally honest, I've never, ever been known to go out of my way to grab really, really green, verdant scents. Typically, those really aren't totally in my preferred wheelhouse, let's say. But aside from that, I mean, I will certainly occasionally rock a green-based scent. And if I were to on a regular basis, I would definitely consider this new fragrance by John Biebel, House of January Scents project, a very, very worthy addition and a very interesting addition to my library and to my rotation. Yep. Very interesting, quite refined. Yeah, and just and very different, very, very different. It's hard to say what I would recommend if I were to recommend any changes to this scent. I'm not sure, and that's such a personal thing. It's kind of like one artist telling another artist, "Oh, I would do this differently." Well, of course you would. You're not that artist, but you know what I mean? It's very hard to sort of accurately critique certain elements of certain recipes without, in a sense, you're sort of disrespecting the nose's recipe and take on that fragrance. But I do feel, I'm not saying criticism is unwarranted. By no means am I saying that, because if that were the case, they wouldn't have committees for Estee Lauder and Chanel and top noses sitting on committees to say, well, why don't we do a little more of this and pull this back? If it were just one guy, taking all the hits with no oversight, no committee, no second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth opinions, well, by all means, let her rip, but we really don't know what kind of scent you would get. Having said that, I don't know what John's process, if you're from further up north in Canada, is. I don't know if he goes through other opinions or other noses or other developers to sort of bounce opinions off, whether he releases them. It's something to think about. Or if he just simply says at some point, this is the one, I feel great about this, bada bing, bada bomb, and I'm putting it onto your, I'm putting it out there. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. It's just interesting things if you think about noses and developing perfumes and scents. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up, guys. I've really gone well over time from what I was planning. Sorry about the 2-minute delay, maybe 3 minutes. If you had a delay on your end, it might have felt more like 3 minutes. Thank you, Liam. A guy named Liam just subscribed to the channel. Welcome aboard. I hope I don't bore you to death. Anyways, thanks for joining me, guys. I know most of you are at work. Apologies for that, but I wanted to get a 2 o'clock session in today. Might get one in tonight. Might not. We'll see. I'll try to give a little heads up if I do. But we'll see. Thanks a bunch, guys. We'll see you soon. I hope you enjoyed listening to my take on January Scents Project. Michael Biebel, John Biebel's the nose, the developer. And today we did again a look at, I believe it's pronounced Eiderantler or Eiderantler. One of the two you pick. I'm sure John will be in touch at some point. Arrivederci, bonsoir, and I will see you guys hopefully in the near future. Spray often, spray well. Live life on your terms, not someone else's. Peace. Love you guys.